Hello there, this is a Shadow Ranger. I got a question here from BlackRock316. I'm gonna answer this video. He says, "I'm sure you heard Mick Foley has asked for his release from TNA in the middle of the network storyline. I don't know why they went with this in the first place. It is said to be for creative differences. Remember a while back when TNA was interested in bringing in Paul Heyman, while with Hogan, Bischoff, and Russo in charge, do you think Heyman would have been in the same situation as Mick Foley if Heyman had stayed with TNA for about a year? Do you think this is one of those situations where everybody in creative team has their own way of what wrestling should be, and excuse me, and it becomes a problem because no one is on the right page? I think you meant the same page. So let's take these point by point. Sorry, I have to kind of yawn and stretch. It's 5:52 a.m. here in Korea. Very nice, cool morning too. Anyway, yes, I did hear that Mick Foley asked for his release. I believe on Twitter he said that he pushed for things that he thought was gonna make this, that he himself thought would make it better. Guess everybody didn't agree with him. It happens. He's not happy there, so he's gonna leave. I can't blame him. What type of things was he pushing for? We don't know. I guess he'll talk about it when he's ready to tell, like, these are the things I was pushing for, that these are the things I thought would make things better, and then once that's said, we'll have to judge for ourselves. Hopefully we'll get a chance to ask him, okay, Mick Foley said that these are things he wanted to do, we think these are good, why wouldn't you do them? And then we can, maybe Hogan, Bischoff, or Dixie or somebody will give the reason, like, well, here's why we didn't feel that was a good idea. You know, it's one of the things where TNA kind of keeps to themselves. They really don't go out of their way to answer things. So, except Eric Bischoff. Bischoff will answer questions when asked directly, but everybody else kind of keeps quiet, so it's kind of hard to get their side of the story on a lot of issues. That tends to be their problem. You know, people will make accusations for them, but they won't speak on them, so we never get their side of the story. This network thing should have been Dixie Carter in the first place. It never made sense anyway for Mick Foley to be the network representative. Even if he was staying, even if Mick Foley had signed a freaking 50-year deal with TNA, it wouldn't have made sense. He shouldn't have been the network executive in the first place, just for storyline reasons. It doesn't make sense for the storyline. Just talking about pure storyline, it should have been Dixie Carter. That's what made the most sense, that it be Dixie Carter. Why they wanted it to be Mick, I don't know. It should have never been Mick. It should have been Dixie Carter from the first place, whether Mick was staying or not. It has nothing to do with Mick leaving or his contract. Even if Mick was gung-ho to be in TNA forever, it still should not have been him. It should have been Dixie. Creative differences. Look, TNA doesn't really need Mick Foley that much. They'll be okay without Mick. They were fine before Mick. They'll be okay after him. Let's see here. Remember when TNA ended up bringing Paul Heyman, Hogan, Bischoff, Russo in charge? I think Heyman would have been in the same situation as Foley. Possibly. I mean, Russo would have been there. Russo, it was well noted that Russo said he was burnt out on being in creative and wanted to take an office job, and that he said he would completely remove himself from the creative team completely if they got Paul Heyman. Russo had made a rec saying, if they get Heyman, I'll gladly step aside, give him the book, let him do his thing. I won't interfere at all. So Russo wouldn't have been an issue. Russo had already said that he'll step out of the way and let Heyman do the whole thing and do an office job. He said he's burnt out on it, would rather do an office job anyway. Bischoff does do some input, but he's not really a big part of the creative team. He's mainly an on-screen character, but he does have some small amounts. He's able to make small bits of input and suggestions and stuff. I think Hogan and Bischoff wouldn't have really got too much in the way. It really depends on who Dixie was going to trust. If Dixie says, if Dixie decides I'm going with Hogan and Bischoff, then she just goes with Hogan and Bischoff. That's who's gonna have the most say. If Dixie says we're going with Heyman, Heyman will have the most say. So it really comes down to who Dixie wanted to get behind. Because if Dixie Carter said Heyman's running it, then that's it. Remember, Dixie owns this company. It's her company. What she says goes. She's the end all be all in TNA. What she says goes. If Dixie says we're going with Russo, then you go with Russo. If Dixie says we're going with Hogan and Bischoff, then you go with Hogan and Bischoff. If Dixie says we're going with Heyman, it's been Heyman. So it really depends on if Dixie said Heyman, then it's Heyman. He wouldn't have any problems. It really, if she's not putting the man, giving the she picks who the leader is. She owns the company, but she's not part of creative. She decides who the leader is. If she says Heyman's the leader, Heyman's the leader. So that's the only way it would have been a big issue for Heyman. Of course, Heyman would only come in if that was the agreed upon thing. Heyman, that's the reason why he didn't join. He made it clear that he would only join the team if he is made unquestioned leader of the team, which I don't think they should give him that, because Dixie don't even know Heyman like that to just say, here, you can have my entire company. Screw that. Heyman is not coming into TNA. Because TNA isn't and shouldn't give Heyman the power. I think they shouldn't give him the power he wants. He wants full control. He wants to be like Dana White with UFC. Dana White doesn't own the UFC, but he runs the entire company. It's like he owns it, but I forgot the name of the people who own it, the family that owns the UFC. But Dana White is like completely in charge of every aspect of the company, although he isn't the owner. Now, that's the kind of role Heyman wants. Basically, it's my company, and you just get the profit. That's kind of how UFC runs. It's Dana White's company, and the people who own it just get the money. They make the money and do nothing, and Dana White runs the whole thing. That's the kind of role Heyman wanted with TNA. I run the entire thing as if it was my company, as if I own the company, and Dixie Carter, the Carter family, you just sit back, do nothing, and reap the profits. And I don't think, Dixie isn't going to give him that kind of power. I don't think Panda Energy wants to give somebody that much power over their company. I don't think we, the fans, would even like it. I don't think we, the fans, I think in like 6 months, we'd all be bitching about things that Heyman did. I think Heyman would kill the X Division myself. That's one thing they're going to hate. I think Paul Heyman comes in, X Division's dead. He'll kill it. Okay, and do I think it's one of those situations where everybody in creative team has their own way and it just kind of conflicts? Yeah, I think that's probably it. Nash was talking about it on the interview. Just everybody has their own idea, and while the ideas separately are good, you put them all together. Now, he was more vulgar with it, but it was kind of like spaghetti tastes good. So I make a pot of spaghetti and I'm gonna make some sauce. Then somebody else comes along and they want to make some, like, I don't know, greens and cornbread, which tastes good. Then they take the greens and cornbread, which tastes good by itself, and they dump it in the same pot as the spaghetti. Then somebody else comes along and they want to make some dressing, like some Thanksgiving or stuffing, as some people call it, which tastes good on its own. But then they take it and they put it in the same pot as the spaghetti. So now it's got spaghetti sauce and it's got the greens and it's got the stuffing all mixed in one pot. Then somebody else comes along and they want to make fried chicken, so they fry up the chicken and throw it in the pot too and mix it all in there. And then you got like 4 things that separately were good, but then everybody mixed them all together and it turns into something disgusting. I think it's too many people. I always keep going back to that clip when I watched the Finding Hulk Hogan special, and they showed him in a creative meeting at TNA, and they had a creative meeting going on, and they showed the clip of him in the room, and I swear I think I counted like 30 different people in that room. Do you really need 30 people on a creative team? Everybody's doing stuff, everybody's giving input. I really think that Dixie Carter has to make the decision and pick one person and say, you're in charge, we going with him. If you're not on board with him, you got to go. And I remember, again, late 2009 when everybody was out and it was just Russo, and they had some really good stuff going on. And I remember all these shows that bash TNA, they used to bash TNA constantly, were all talking about how good the show was at that time. And it was just Vince Russo and Matt Conway had backing them up. I really think that's it. I think it's too many cooks in the kitchen. You know, that old expression, too many chiefs, not enough Indians. Everybody got their own idea, and everybody's ideas are good, but when you take all those good things and you mix them together, you end up with something bad. I challenge you, anybody in here, pick like your 3 or 4 of your favorite foods, put them all in one big giant pot and mash them all together. Stir it up into like this weird liquidy soup, and then eat it. It'll taste horrible. You gotta pick one. We can't eat spaghetti and greens and fried chicken and I forgot the other thing was I said, and mix them all together at the same time. You gotta eat one. Eat one, you know. All right, let me go ahead and end this video. But you know, Foley, he has his vision that he wants to play out. He has his ideas that he wants to pursue. It's just not gonna happen. It's why I keep saying we need more large companies. You know, that's why I'm hoping that this Ring of Honor thing is successful, and I hope somebody else comes up. You know, I wish there was another company that would be willing to that had enough of a footing that you know Mick could work for them and maybe express his creativity in another company and make it successful. You know, maybe that's what it needs. Maybe TNA needs some other company to surpass them, and before they decide that maybe their direction isn't working. You know, hey, I like the show, but a lot of other people hate it, so maybe changes need to be made. But you know, when you got Hogan, you got Bischoff, you got Russo, you have Mick Foley, you can't use everybody's ideas. There's gonna be conflict. Maybe it's best for Mick to just remove himself from it. Alright, I'm going to end it there. BlackRock316 does another very nice question. You always come with very interesting questions for me to answer. So if you have any more, keep sending them. Anybody else has a question for me that they'd like me to answer in a video, feel free to send it. This is the Shadow Ranger. Thank you for listening. Have a nice day.